The Extreme Sailing Series is a global racing circuit that brings the action right to the fans.
Oh no! Bang! Helm there! Oh no, he's going to fall!
In its 8-stop tour around the globe, Act 2 brings the series back to the sailing heart of China and the former Olympic city of Qingdao. But if this year's action is anything like the last, the competitors are in for an exciting ride.
Red Bull Extreme are over. Power on, but they're going down. This is the Wave Muscat, they're over. The crews are clinging on. Oh, crash, the master's gone. Oh!
Beneath the skyscrapers of Qingdao, 9 teams from 15 nations will go toe-to-toe. The all-star lineup consists of 22 Olympians and sailors with 81 World and European Championship titles. The teams arrive here from round 1, where the newcomer, Morgan Larsson, won. He is as cool as they come.
It sets the tone for the whole boat. He is a very relaxed guy, keeps his head together, and being able to stay relaxed and push the reset button every race when you need to is a huge asset.
Second were another Omani team, the Wave Muscat. Lee McMillan from the UK is their skipper and the youngest on the tour. He does not do things quietly.
Water! You gotta give us water!
Third in Muscat were this year's tour guide favourites, French team Group Edmond de Rothschild. Their skipper, Pierre Penick, is as intense as they come.
Yeah, he's really focused, smart, clever, when the pressure is getting up.
Finishing runners-up for the last 2 years, Penick for one will be determined this year will belong to them. Leading the rest of the field, the Austrian Red Bull sailing team have double Olympic gold medalist Roman Hagara at the helm.
The more I get to know Roman, the less I actually know about him. He's got, he's a quirky guy, he's got a great sense of humour.
Representing the United Kingdom, GAC Pindar, they have thinking man Ian Williams in charge. His cool, clinical style should give them the edge when the pressure is on.
Very analytical, very intelligent guy. As soon as we're racing, very passionate that we do as well as possible.
Also from France, Zulu, led at this event by sailing legend Loic Perron. He is a big personality who this year led a crew around the world to a non-stop speed record. Alinghi, founded by Ernesto Bertorelli, who has led a team to America's Cup victory twice. With Bertorelli absent for this event, Cup veteran Pierre-Yves Joran is to skipper here. This year's apprentices Jesgram Hansen and Rasmus Koster share skipper duties aboard the newest permanent addition to the lineup, Danish SAP Extreme Sailing Team. There's a wildcard entry here from the home nation. Team China joined the fleet for this one event. Fresh from the America's Cup, this crew, led by Australian Phil Robertson, have never sailed on this tour before, but are hoping to give their local fans something to cheer about. At stake, not just the adoration of fans and the respect of their peers, but the chance to get their hands on the coveted Extreme Sailing Series trophy. All the teams know things could get rough here in China. Last year, the crowds watched in awe as the weather took its toll on the fleet.
It was offshore winds with winds up to 30-35 knots, so it was pretty hard to sail. In one race on one day we had 4 capsizes and we were one of them.
Obviously we saw last year in the windy condition how difficult it is to race on the short stadium courses with the Extreme 40s.
Last year the fans got treated to a pretty extreme day. I know there was quite a few capsizes, a broken mast, a few guys got hurt. And these boats are always going to provide that kind of viewing whenever the wind's above 15 knots.
It was a big venue last year, but no fear, you know, it's been really windy last year. We managed not to capsize, so obviously we try to do the same if it's a big condition, yeah.
The event sees a 4-day format. The first day is open water racing outside the harbour. The crews have the chance to prepare themselves for the next 3 days of stadium. One team who just missed out on the podium in Act 1 Muscat were Red Bull sailing team. They used all their Olympic experience to put in the performance of the day.
It was a perfect day for the team. The teamwork was really good on the boat today. I think they have done a wonderful job.
Qingdao has a reputation for delivering spectacular opening ceremonies. And in 2012, it didn't disappoint. After one day on open water, the event now heads to the crowds and tiny compact courses.
We're into stadium racing, so really it's a case of refocusing on that type of racing and trying to make sure that we come out and do a good job.
It delivers action, speed, very close to the shore sailing. People can come and watch, they can understand sailing. I think it's a great concept.
Although there are variations, the basic format of racing is simple. The fleet race upwind to round a mark before sailing downwind to pass through a gate. They complete 2 circuits before heading across the finish line. It's 9 points for a win and just 1 for finishing last. We catch up with the action in the 5th race of the day.
Red Bull Sailing are leading. Can the Austrians continue to dominate? 3 seconds to the start. That's the gun. Clean start, I think. Good start. Close to camera, Group Evan and Rothschild with the dark blue sails. The Danish team on the far side look good as well. And in the centre, Alinghi on the right, Team China on the left. Well, this first turning mark just 300 metres after the start, coming into picture now. Well, Team China are looking very good indeed, but coming up on the inside to their left, SAP Extreme Sailing Team, brand new to the circuit this year. Jes Graham Hansen and Rasmus Costa are going to round in first place. That's a great start. Jenica out on board the Danish boat as they bear away and head downwind. Little gust there. Oh, they bear away, hull up in the air, and they're off. Well, that was a picture-perfect first leg. In second, it's Team China, so 2 brand new teams leading. Alinghi third. SAP Extreme Sailing Team tack. Just look how these boats stop when they manoeuvre and coming in at speed. The dark blue sails of Group Edmund and Rothschild, but the Jenica's already out on board the Danish team. And Group Edmund and Rothschild are coming in, flying a hull up to second in this race. As they spin into a turn, Alinghi just behind. China, what, they've slipped down to 4th, but no sign of... There's Red Bull. Well, Red Bull are in 5th at this one. Chasing the French team, rounding in second. Big gust. And that is the lead. Left of picture, going from right to left, that's the Danish team. Oh, Zulu, that's Loic Perron. Oh, he was chancing things there, wasn't he? Well, he's just tucked in front of the Chinese team who are protesting. And Red Bull just behind in 5th place. As the fleet head down towards the gate for the final time. Last upwind leg, far right of picture. Up on one hull, it is SAP. The newcomers are leading. They're on their way to the final mark. But they have pressure from behind. Group Edmund and Rothschild from France, the form guide favourites. And that's the distance between the 2 of them. And look, Group Edmund and Rothschild still powered up. But the Danish team have got the breeze now. 1 more mark to round. French team slow down. Wind being blocked by that building. It's all about the Danish team holding their nerve, getting around this top mark, watching out because there's some big gusts and there's a wall just, 30 metres away. SAP bear away. Yep. Look at those dark patches on the water. They're the gusts, but no, they've got through that perfectly okay. The wall is just in front of them. They will jibe for the finish. Well, this is an immaculate race for the Danish team as Group Edmund and Rothschild round that top mark, 50 metres behind them. They're putting on quite a chase, but they're not going to win this race because victory is going to go to a brand new team on the tour. And they're punching the air there. Yes, Graham Hansen, Rasmus Kostler delighted with that second place in the race. Group Edmund de Rothschild, but look now, coming in just behind them, the Wave Muscat. They've been having a real battle with Red Bull all day, but despite this, Red Bull will end up the day on top.
Like many of the teams at the series, it's taken time for Red Bull Sailing to build consistency into their performance as they adapt to the challenge of the short, fast courses.
We learned a lot during the last years how to deal with the whole series, with the up and downs and to get through the 4 days. But the hands are still hurting. It's a lot of work, it's hard work, but you have to be focused.
Second place, the Wave Muscat. Well, they're just glad to be hanging in there.
It's good to still be in the mix after a really bad day like that. Don't think we could have done much more wrong, to be honest, and to still be in second place and only 7 points off the lead, that's nothing, that's one race.
Tour favourites for this year, Group Edmund de Rothschild, are certainly not dominating here, but they still have time, fourth at the halfway stage.
We had fun, it was tough. It was an awesome day for sailing.
So after all the excitement out on the racecourse, the Austrian Olympic duo of Vergara and Steinacker maintain their lead over the Wave Muscat. Oman Air jump up to third at the expense of the Brits on JAC Pindar. At the halfway stage here in Qingdao, Red Bull Sailing Team have the upper hand. Led by Austrian double Olympic gold medalist Roman Agara, this international crew are on form and hungry for silverware.
A really good teamwork now on the boat. Communication-wise, it's really good now. And I think all the guys love to sail on this boat.
Even in this series, you cannot do everything right. But he tries to do everything right on this race course. It's not possible, and it's really hard for him to get through this.
It's pretty hard. Speaking so many languages on the boat and coming down to one, which is English. Sometimes I speak with Hans-Peter in German and then try to translate in English, and in really tight situations sometimes we get mixed up with the languages, and the guys do not understand our German very well, so
yeah, if I have to shout with Roman, I still have to shout in German with him, because I'm a lot better in be angry in German, to involve too much the others. When I'm not happy with Roman, then I have to say him in German, and then the other knows exactly it's only for Roman.
There's obviously a communication, bit of a barrier between the Germans and the, I'd say English, but we've got an Aussie as well, obviously. It's pretty good until we get into maybe a high-pressure situation where Roman and Hans might disagree a little bit, and in that case, it's not your fault because they start talking German.
You have to work as a team, and you have to respect the positions of the others as well, and I think like on these boats everybody has to do his best, and it's just working as a team.
Gaining the lead here in the Extreme Sailing Series is one thing, but defending it is entirely another. Winner of the last event, Morgan Larson, knows just how difficult this can be.
It is early days, and any team gets hot and gets a streak going, they're gonna step out ahead, and they'll, their life will be a little easier going into the last day. So hopefully we can find our form and get there today.
And as we catch up with the penultimate day's racing, one boat has indeed got a streak on, but it's not Red Bull.
The Wave Muscat, the form team today. Red Bull Sailing are under pressure. That is the start. And the Wave Muscat, middle of the line now. Close up on SAP, having some good moments in this competition. Oh, look at that Red Bull bad start, right at the back. Much better, though, for JAC Pindar, who get a gust, hull flying towards that first turning mark. Red Bull Hull just not moving at the back. And JAC are going to round in first position. And the British team head downhill. Wind behind, power on, just behind, it's the Wave Muscat. And just look at the distance between them and Red Bull Sailing just coming into picture. Well, the fleet are pouring round now. But Red Bull are losing out badly to the Wave Muscat, and that lead has gone. Well, coming into the top mark for the second time, and the Wave Muscat chose the other side of the course to GAC Pindar. And as they're flying a hull, they've got a gust, they're going to come into that mark. And the last time I saw, they had the advantage over the British team. Yep, this is the overtaking move for Lee McMillan and the Wave Muscat. They've turned a, 40-metre deficit into, a 10-metre advantage. In second place, just behind GAC Pindar. And third, SAP. Well, the significance of this race is the Wave Muscat are off, and Red Bull are languishing at the back of the fleet. Oh, SAP, that's close. They nearly got their hull between the two hulls of GAC Pindar in front, recognised at the last minute and got out of trouble. Well, Lee McMillan could be just, 300 metres, maybe less, away from winning this race, but he's got plenty to think about. Looking, boats behind him, but look at that. GAC Pindar have caught up, but do slide just behind him at the final mark. SAP are still hanging there. And McMillan, Jenica out, has now got a, slow slide down towards the finish. And GAC Pindar almost stationary as they turn on that final mark. But they're having a good day on board the Wave Muscat, because this will be their third race win of the day. Well, Lee McMillan looks pretty pleased with that. They'll be happy on board GAC Pindar as well, because the analyst, the thinker, Ian Williams, finishes second. But look at this. Red Bull, who started the day leading, are suffering, stuck at the back.
Today we might have been just a tiny bit out on our timing. Nothing fundamentally wrong at all. Can't let ourselves get down on it. Just today just wasn't as good as yesterday and the day before.
So Red Bull no longer dominate. Britain's GAC Pindar came here looking for their first podium place on the circuit. We caught up with some of the crew after racing as they temporarily refocused on a slightly different challenge.
We're really happy to be here and sailing with you guys today. Remote boats, it'll be a lot of fun.
We're here doing some model boat sailing with the kids, and we've just been given some free practice time. And I think we're about to go into a race. So I think some of these kids are quite handy. There's a local boat with a red flag on his jib. He looks like the boat to beat, I think. He's got special gloves on, which I think must help his performance.
I think there's a lot riding on this.
I think there's a lot of bragging rights. Hopefully we'll be able to keep it on the pond and not on the real water.
For me, as the only American on board, it's been quite an experience joining an all-British crew.
I think we're winning the battle. I think we're slowly converting him to the English way of doing things.
I'm starting to learn the culture and the language a little bit, and we're both kind of meeting halfway with some of the terms.
A couple of little Americanisms are creeping into the way we all speak, which we'll obviously do our best to stamp out.
Minor communication difficulties aside, the man calling the shots, Ian Williams, is a clinical operator at the helm.
He's very focused. He thinks about stuff a lot. Quite often 3 days after you've had an incident, he'll come up to you and sort of explain to you like he's worked it out, and you'll be mind blown as to the theory he's come up with it, and it generally makes sense.
He's really always into having a game plan and knowing if I've weighed out all the different options.
Oh no, starboard rounding, is it? Sorry. Starboard rounding on the green.
Back on the pond and away from their skipper, the Pindar crew found the going tough.
It was intense. Yeah, I mean, the standard was pretty high and the conditions were very tough. I think it'll be a bit of an anticlimax going Extreme 40 racing after this, but we'll give it a go.
Tomorrow, the winner here in Qingdao will be decided. Can Red Bull sailing team bounce back? Are the Wave Muscat off and gone? Any of the top 5 can still win overall here. The Wave Muscat may be sitting 8 points clear at the top of the table, but with 5th place Group Edmund Rothschild only 14 points behind, and with double points up for grabs in the final race, it's all to play for. It's the final day of Act 2 here in Qingdao, and there is a sense of foreboding throughout the camp. Last year at this venue, 4 boats capsized in one day, and none of the sailors want to repeat the same nightmare.
The big storm that's been causing all the problems in the south of the country is advancing closer and quicker, gusts to 24 knots by the end of the day. You know, they're slamming in already.
We've just got to just really be on our toes today, just be very sharp, be aware of the gusts. We're surrounded by big buildings and harbour walls, so they come very quickly.
The weather is going to be quite challenging, so maybe gusting up to 20, 25. So that's going to be tricky, of course, but I think we like this weather.
There are big gusts coming in, and we're fighting for the podium. We're fighting still for first place, and you never give up an inch, so that's racing.
Helmets and buoyancy aids donned, the crews are ready. They sail out onto the racecourse for the final showdown.
Well, the wild winds have not yet arrived, but there's a weird sort of eerie feeling here as if something's on its way. Final seconds to the start. That is the start. Well, 2 boats were over. China are heading back. Pindar are just stationary on the line. But on the inside track, the Wave Muscat have crept their way through the fleet. They've got Red Bull just behind, and they're unfurling the Jellicoe. Well, it's weird. If anything, the breeze has gone away. We know there are storms coming down the coast. Not here yet. And Red Bull are what they're rounding in fourth. They didn't get... Oh, there's a big gust there for Lee McMillan on the Wave. Well, that came from nowhere. Flying a hull. Well, coming upwind, close to camera, we have got the Wave Muscat. But the other side of the track, Red Bull have gone out on their own. Now, we will find out if that's paid. The Wave Muscat are now coming in towards the top mark. And from left to right, this is Red Bull. Oh, they haven't got the lead, but they have got second. So the Austrian team are in second place. The Wave Muscat will round that mark in first. Well, they're leading comfortably, and they're starting to dominate as they head downwind. Red Bull sailing. Great move. Went out on their own. Big gust. Oh, let a bit of power out of that sail. Well, one moment there's almost less than 3 knots, and then gusts like that come. Red Bull, though, they're delivering in these murky conditions, heading down towards the gate for the final time. And the Wave Muscat look like they're fighting for second, and the Austrian team, who for a period of this regatta must have felt they couldn't put a foot right. Red Bull heading to the finish, but what they don't know, and I do, I've just spoken to race controllers, this is the penultimate race of the event here in China. Victory for Red Bull. But if the Wave Muscat finish this race in third place, they will have done enough to win the regatta here in China. Zalinghi second, and the Wave Muscat finish third here in this race. With one more race to go, they've won overall, but they don't know that yet. There's some good news about to come aboard.
Oh, 60, 59, 58, 54.
You got it, boys and gals.
Well done, China.
With the final race a formality, the crew of the Wave Muscat can start their celebrations early. So the Wave Muscat win in some style, and Red Bull's sailing team stop their cascade down the leaderboard and get their best result of the tour. Disappointment for JAC Pindar in fourth, having lost their podium place in the final moment. But for tour favourites Group Edmond de Rothschild, it's 2/3 in a row.
Really good feeling to be victorious here in Qingdao. Spent a lot of time here during the Olympics and all the training, so it's nice to come out of this place with a victory.
The whole team did a really good job today. We did some really bad decisions on the race course out there, and then we were sitting down and say, okay, we have to do just easy things, and from then on it went really well for us. I mean, really good racing, and all the congratulations to Lee and his crew.
It's a very good result for the Gitana team. We finish 3, so it's not fantastic, but it's not bad. And we are on the podium, we are regular, it's very important all the year. I'm proud to my team this week, and I'm sure we progress all the year.
So after Act 2, Oman is still in control of this tour, but the scores are still very tight at the top. Next stop, Istanbul, Turkey, the city where East meets West, and where last year things got just too close for comfort. Will the Wave Muscat be celebrating in Turkey again? See you next time.